Hi, I'm Evan Hafer, CEO of Twistrate.
And I'm Jeff Kirkham, President of Twistrate.
Together we have over 40 years of special operations experience in tactics and firearms. We've been around the world and taught everyone from soccer moms to the most elite special operations forces. And now we're here to teach you.
Hi, I'm Jeff with Twistrate.
And I'm Evan with Twistrate. Today we're going to talk about the AK. And today is going to be our first day in a series of videos about the AK. We're going to have Jeff here. He's going to talk us through everything that he knows about the AK over the next 3 months. We're going to get down into the weeds with this. We're going to pull the onion apart and we're going to make the AK cry a little bit. So the first thing I wanted to give Jeff his time in order to discuss his experience with the AK and why it's important that we listen to him.
Well, the AK system is one of those rifles that the more you look at it, the more you see the genius that was behind it. I don't think all of that genius was necessarily Kalashnikov, but what I like to call Team Kalashnikov. My first experience with the AK was back in 2002 when I was actually part of the team that did some of the first empirical data that was done on the AK weapon system. Up until that point, nobody could find any true studies that had been done in SOCOM or in DoD on the rifle. It was all a bunch of urban myths and I thoughts and I've heards. And so there was another program that was going on at the time that led us to testing the AK so that we could disprove a lot of those things. And actually the study, when it was set up, was kind of ad hoc at the time, and then it turned into a very serious study based off of the data that we were bringing back from the rifles itself.
And what kind of rifle or what kind of AK was given to you guys for that test?
Well, at the time we were given stamped receiver Chicom 56s with folding stocks. The rifles looked horrible. They looked like they'd been pulled out of a dumpster. And at that time, people should remember back in 2002, there were no rail systems for AKs. So what we were doing is we were literally zip tying on things like ACOG scopes that the ballistic coefficient for was for the 5.56, not the 7.62-39, as well as flashlights and lasers and things of this nature.
And what were the results?
Well, the results were amazing. By the end of the second day, we had stopped firing at 250-meter targets because we were literally at 100% accuracy. And by the end of the week, we had fired 3,000 plus rounds. We had had 2 malfunctions. There was round 3,998. There was a failure to fully seat all the way forward because the weapons were filthy when we got them, and then they just continued to get worse and worse over the course of the week that we were testing them because we were firing in sandy conditions. By the end of the program, though, or by the end of the testing, the other program was dead, and SOCOM was talking about buying AKs for all of their operators.
Awesome. And did that begin your love affair with this thing?
It did, really, because that was one of those moments where we realized, like, hey, everything that they told us in basic training wasn't necessarily true. The rifle was actually very accurate. The ergonomics could be overcome, and there were some aspects of the ergonomics of the rifle which were actually better than the M4. And then the more I started delving into the rifle and studying about it and learning about it, I just became very impressed with the genius of the men that were behind it and the genesis of the rifle itself, and not only the rifle but the round. And that just led further and further and further that the simplicity illustrates the genius of the rifle. I really like the rifle, obviously.
And how many people do you think you've trained to use this thing?
Thousands, tens of thousands.
And what are the big problems that you've seen over the last decade?
Well, probably the biggest problem that people run into is the selector switch. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a couple of new things that you have to do with the selector switch, but there's now enhancements that are out on the market that make it so that thing's just as fast and easy as an M4. And then even if you don't have that, there's a couple of impromptu things that you can do to enhance it. Mm-hmm. And then even if you're not able to do that, you can just hold your hand a little bit different. But we found that the rifle is nearly as fast as an M4, if not faster. Speed on the range is one thing. speed after you've been crawling through the moon dust of the Middle East is an entirely different thing. And I think that nobody would argue that some of the speed factors, this starts passing up some of the other weapon systems that are out there as soon as we start dealing with the realities of the situation that people get put into, after you've run through a dust storm from a helicopter touching down and jumped into that moon dust puddle that was off to the side of the HLZ. So then all of a sudden things become quite a bit more hazy.
And why do you think it's important that we cover these videos in Twistrate?
Well, I think it's important that we cover the AK because it's literally the most reproduced rifle on planet Earth. There are millions upon millions. Nobody has a clear estimate of even how many of these rifles there are. So for us to not understand the most prolific weapon system on the Earth is really kind of naive.
So it's basically, we want to shed off naivete.
Yes. But we don't want to be French.
Right. So I think this is going to be a really good introduction. We're going to go through several videos throughout the next year. I want to make sure that, when you guys are watching this content, please feel free. You've got to chime in and ask us questions. You're literally looking at probably the nation's subject matter expert on this rifle system or on this weapon system. So definitely email us through Full30 and ask your questions about the AK-47 and what kind of videos you guys want to see. The first couple videos we're going to start with are literally just loading and reloading the weapon system. Then we'll get down into the weeds. Like I said before, we're going to peel apart the onion that is the AK, and we're going to make you guys cry.